So what do we see this weekend? Well, a bunch of European leaders just rallying around the president of Ukraine, clearly trying to make a statement after what we saw Friday and that blow up in the Oval Office with President Zelenskyy and President Trump. Zelenskyy was greeted with cheers over in London. Got a big hug from the British Prime Minister, Kier Starmer. The PM convening an emergency summit with the leaders of France, Germany, Canada, and other nations, trying to hash out a four-point plan to end the war and give security guarantees to Ukraine. The leaders pledging to continue sending military aid and insist that Ukraine be directly involved in the negotiations. They say they'll push for the U.S. to rejoin the so-called coalition of the willing, because Europe still relies heavily on the U.S. for its own security.
We agreed to develop a coalition of the willing, ready to defend a deal in Ukraine and guarantee the peace. It is right that Europe do the heavy lifting to support peace. We agreed to develop a coalition of the willing, ready to defend a deal in Ukraine.
All right.
And guarantee the peace.
Coalition of the willing. There it is again. All right, so let's bring in the former British ambassador to Ukraine, now Ambassador Simon Smith. Ambassador, welcome. It's good to see you tonight. So willing, yes. Able, what about that? What about what can Europe get done here?
Well, I think that was what this summit was all about. I think really top of the objectives was to get together and really step up the pace at which decisions to beef up defense capabilities are being taken right across Europe. And it was obviously to make declarations of willingness to do this, to make statements as to how much in terms of increases in defense budgets are already in hand, but I think also to encourage each other to move further. But I think the other really important thing here at this summit was also to agree ways in which Europe can make a significant contribution to the effort to stop the war and to do it on a sustainable basis. I mean, your section here started off referring to the very difficult meeting that Zelenskyy had with President Trump on Friday last week. And I think, if you like, one of the kind of maybe softer aims of the summit was actually to embrace Zelenskyy. I mean, your clip certainly showed that there is a lot of respect for Zelenskyy in Europe. I think a lot of people here in this region respect him as someone who has shown immense resilience, really heroic levels of resilience throughout 3 years while his country has been under attack by Putin's Russia. And I think that really a lot of people in Europe will have found those scenes in the White House on Friday really quite astonishing.
No, I'm sure
the
they
poor
did.
guy who's been through all he's been through is subjected to what in many respects looked like a systematic humiliation. So as I say, although it may not have been top of the kind of hard objectives of the summit, I think there was a very important objective, which was to welcome President Zelenskyy and reassure him of the continuing commitment to support him.
Yeah, you could see that that was a statement that these European leaders, including Prime Minister Starmer, were probably trying to make. Now, you mentioned defense spending. Let me put it up. We have it on our tablet here, so I can put it up on the screen, just highlight some of these numbers. That, speaking of statements, because we know the U.S. there is at 3.5%, it says here, of GDP. But the UK, where, the number was at 2.3% of GDP, is going higher, right? France, 2%. Germany's under that. And President Trump, his first term especially, was all over this, saying that these countries need to spend more. It looks like Prime Minister Starmer is trying to make a statement, say, we're willing to do more. But then, again, I go back to my original question about, if the U.S. is not involved, though, is it going to be enough?
I think there is a general feeling that that shouldn't be a question that stops the process in Europe of assessing what we've got, assessing how much more we need, and putting some hard numbers to those targets, basically. So I think I don't sense anyone in Europe right at the moment is saying, head in hands, this is going to be impossible without the United States. However, I think if you look at what Kier Starmer has been saying, he's been making pretty clear to say, yes, we need the United States on board. He's also said, I think, that he's confident that the United States, as such a long-time ally of the United Kingdom, such a long-time ally within the NATO alliance, that he's confident that we can count on our American allies to work with us for a robust process that culminates in a sustainable and just peace. So if you like, I think both targets are being focused on. I think the Europeans are saying, what more must we do?
Right, but we think the U.S. at the end of the day will be there, so we'll see. Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.